From the University of North Dakota in Grand Forks, this is Studio One.
Hi everyone, and welcome to Studio One. I'm Tasha Olson.
And I'm Biernat.
Today on the show, lifetime milestones include owning a house, having children, and eventually retirement. We'll find out why it's important to start thinking of those events as early as possible.
Also, water quality in the United States is federally regulated by the Environmental Protection Agency, yet many people are still buying hundreds of plastic water bottles a year. But first, tensions are high and victims and their families await answers as the trial of Jahar Tsarnaev begins. The young man allegedly helped carry out the bombing at the finish line of the Boston Marathon in 2013. He's being charged with 30 federal counts, more than 12 of which carry the death penalty. The prosecution and defense both agreed that Tsarnaev helped carry out the bombing. However, Tsarnaev's attorney says his client was highly influenced by his older brother in the belief that the U.S. government is an enemy of Islam. The Center for Disease Control and Prevention says deaths from heroin have increased by 39% over the past 2 decades. With these numbers on the rise, state officials are taking action. Nearly half of the states now allow law enforcement to carry naloxone or Narcan. It's a drug that counteracts a heroin overdose in minutes or even seconds. Although hospitals have used it for years, critics fear increased access may encourage heroin use.
I think users could become emboldened knowing that someone who's going to arrive if emergency help is called, that they're probably going to be carrying naloxone and can reverse the effect and potentially save their life instantly.
Studies show that naloxone is capable of reducing overdose deaths by as much as 50%. However, many states, including North Dakota, are still debating whether to put naloxone into the hands of law enforcement.
The biggest solar power plant in the world was just switched on in California. The Desert Sunlight Solar Project boasts 9 million solar panels, providing electricity to roughly 160,000 homes. While experts agree a project of this scale is unlikely to be seen again, improvements to solar technology are on the rise. In recent years, new technology has increased the efficiency of solar panels dramatically. Because the panels can collect more energy, they are able to pay for themselves quickly.
Water used to be free. In fact, it still is, at least in countries lucky enough to have an endless supply of clean tap water like the U.S. Yet that still doesn't stop the world from spending over $100 billion on bottled water each year.
Before the invention of bottled water in the 40s, there used to be only one way to get drinking water.
We took a cup and we filled it up and drank it.
An article by National Geographic says the U.S. goes through more than 50 billion bottles of water per year.
Many years ago, you didn't see the water bottles like we have them now. It was all sodas and pops and juices.
The Environmental Protection Agency says in the U.S., more than 80% of recyclable plastic bottles end up in landfills, and each one takes an average of 450 years to break down.
You know, I don't buy plastic water bottles. I guess I'm kind of the belief that I'm not going to buy water.
Not only do these bottles contribute to excessive waste, they're expensive too.
It is more financially responsible to use your own industry filler because water is free, but I'm not going to lie and say I don't buy water bottles every once in a while. So.
The University of North Dakota decided to install 70 water bottle refill stations. Bemidji State University actually banned the sale of water bottles on their campus.
My concern with it is that it takes away a choice for those individuals that want to purchase something that's healthier. I mean, I realize that they can, bring a bottle and fill it at one of the hydration stations, but not everybody wants to do that.
While choosing not to purchase bottled water can keep Mother Earth and your wallet green, drinking water is crucial to healthy living.
It's healthy, keep hydrated, and that's the point.
With photographer Marty Mueller, I'm Avery Hagasog, reporting for Studio One.
Waste Management says each year enough plastic water bottles are thrown away to wrap around the earth 4 times. The International Bottled Water Association says bottled water sales are projected to be the #1 packaged drink by 2016. And that's the news for now.
She said 50 billion water bottles a year. That is a lot.
It really makes you aware of the cause by putting a number to it.
I agree. Thanks, Phil. Let's go now to Morgan Murphy for the weather news. Morgan?
Thanks, Tasha. The big story this week actually not out east, but rather in the central Midwest. A major snowstorm went through southern Wisconsin and parts of Illinois and Indiana on Tuesday. The roads were actually completely packed with snow due to the fact that it was falling at about an inch per hour. With the high winds and loose snow on the ground, visibility was reduced to near zero, and road crews had a hard time even keeping up with the snow. They went out in bandwagons, and they were just trying to get the roads clear as fast as they could. And rescuers said that they were working on calls since about 5:30 in the morning all throughout the entire day. But moving on over into Southern California, a beach there had a rare weather phenomenon happen there. There was actually hail that fell right on the Pacific Ocean, and it coated the whole beach there, and kids were actually able to make little snowmen because of it, and they were just having fun with it. Looking at our forecast for this week, though, we've been seeing some pretty cold temperatures, but this week looking pretty nice, mainly warm temperatures throughout the entire United States. Over the past couple weeks here, we've been seeing mainly what's called meridional flow in the jet stream, though, and that's what happens when it's mainly north to south flow and a few disturbances in it. What that's going to do is bring these colder temperatures down from the Arctic all the way down to the Midwest and the East Coast. This week, though, we're looking at some relief. We're looking at mainly what's called zonal flow, and it's going to be flowing from west to east. And because that the temperatures out in the Pacific Ocean are warmer than average, it's going to bring all that warm air inland here. The majority of the United States, including the East Coast, which we all know they need a break, is going to be pretty warm this week. We did talk to one person, though, who warned us about the dangers about having your car warmed up in the morning.
North Dakota winters are cold. Mornings are especially cold. Most people like to drive to work in a warm car. The solution is to start it well before you take off.
If you're going to start your car in the morning, pull it outside. Don't let it run inside the garage. Even with the door open, it's still going to collect in there.
The reason is a colorless, odorless, deadly gas. Carbon monoxide is a leading cause of poisoning deaths in the United States each year.
And CO is an interesting gas. It doesn't go high or low. It just spreads evenly throughout your house.
Brian says that some people may not even know that they have been exposed to carbon monoxide.
Headaches, nausea, that sort of thing, without knowing that they may have been exposed to CO. So that's kind of the scariest part about it.
Brian says that carbon monoxide detectors are the best way to sniff out the gas. If you do start your car in the morning, make sure to pull it outside. For photographer Nick Johnsrud, this is Jake Larson, reporting for Studio One.
Now, children actually are more susceptible to carbon monoxide poisoning than adults, so that's always something to keep out for. We are looking forward towards spring here, though, so the weather question of the week is towards which direction is a rainbow normally seen in the afternoon? Is it north, south, west, or east? I don't know about you, Tasha, but I'm really looking forward to those warm temperatures.
All right, thanks, Morgan. And now we have a story about a unique form of art. Will?
All right, thanks, Tasha. People have been exploring themselves through art for a long time. Some paint, some write, others prefer a unique craft. We came across a man whose art serves a special purpose.
Inside Stall 37 is a small workplace that is often cluttered with ideas. Charlie Confer says this is a special place.
Doing my trees and doing my art takes me to a little piece of paradise. It's where I go for sanity and sanctuary.
Charlie is an artist. His craft of choice serves as an escape.
Trees are so unique, so one of a kind that even if you screw up, it's just character.
Using his hands and an old set of clamps, he compares the work to rope making. Beginning with one strand of wire, he bends and twists it to proper lengths. Something that started inanimate suddenly becomes organic.
My inspiration comes from looking outside.
Although his inspiration comes from nature, it also comes from within.
I'm in constant pain, physical pain, and with that comes a lot of anxiety and stress.
After an intense career in wrestling and heavyweight lifting, Charlie was left with a debilitating back injury.
And I've tried different kinds of physical and mental therapies, but art is the best therapy for me.
Like many artists, Charlie likes to share his work. The more he shows, the more he gets to continue his unique form of wire art therapy. With photographer Marty Mueller, I'm Alex Amon, reporting for Studio One.
Thanks for coming, guys.
Charlie will set his finished trees outside to rust. He says the process gives the trees a bark-like finish. Charlie's work can be found on his Trees by Charlie Facebook page. And you know, Tasha, it's quite the incredible story about recovery.
And it's a win-win because it results in such beautiful artwork.
Exactly.
Thanks. Many people in their 20s are experiencing life on their own for the first time, and it can be a scary process. Next, we'll talk to a financial advisor about what these new adults should be doing to make their future more secure.
Closed captioning for Studio One is underwritten in part by NDAD, helping others to help themselves.
To have the future you want and a career you'll be proud of, you'll need a great education. The University of North Dakota can get you there with more than 225 degree programs, preparing you for today's fastest growing, high demand careers like medicine and health professions, aerospace, business, engineering, and energy. Schedule your campus visit today at und.edu/go, because to succeed, you need to be exceptional.
Yeah, okay, science meets imagination. Life changed by innovation. They're the future of our nation. Engineers the occupation. UND College of Engineering and Mines. Invest in your mind to stay with the times. Formulas, machines, and all that's in between. They teach it all from wall to help you succeed. Come on, it could be electrical, chemical, or civil. Our world-class staff will help you make it all official. Mechanical, petroleum, geology align at the
UND's College of Engineering and Mines.
Okay, become a leader, prove yourself among all your peers. Changing the world begins right here. You're not alone, but in the plan, we'll take your hand and help you stand with mentorship and advising. We'll do all we can. Okay, so if you want to join the party, simply calculate. The math adds up, so never think to hesitate. Education, leadership, and dreams combined at the UND College of Engineering and Mines.
Closed captioning for Studio One is supported in part by the Listen Center, enriching the lives of people who have intellectual disabilities with choices in community recreation.
CNN Money reports that people coming out of college accumulate an average debt of around $30,000. With rent, food, and other daily expenses, money can be a serious stressor in many young adults' lives. Financial advisor Roger Hodenfield works with first-time savers to help relieve this financial burden. Thanks for being with us today, Roger.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
First question for you is, what age is the most difficult to manage money, and why?
I'd say probably in the 20s. There's that time just getting out of college. A lot of times you haven't had much money for a while, and all of a sudden you maybe have a good income coming in. But there's a lot of expenses that you have, and it's quite often get caught up in just spending money and not starting to do some saving, which should be starting to do that right away, and building up some cash reserves too.
So 20 years ago, it was common for parents to pay their student or their children's college expenses. Now there are more debt coming out of college. Why do you think it's so different now? Why is that?
College has gotten so expensive, so it's very difficult to just pay for that on your own. So a lot of times they have to build up that debt, and getting out of college, it's a big expense to pay that back.
What is the biggest mistake that young adults make with their money?
I think just starting to spend too much when they get out of college. A lot of times, like I mentioned earlier, is having that good cash flow coming in that you didn't have when you were in college, and thinking that they can be spending more money than they actually have.
Okay, so speaking of that, I know that credit cards can be an issue sometimes, but how can they help you?
It can really help to establish your credit rating. So as long as you use credit cards smartly, to use those, but to pay off your expense each month. So not to be spending more than what you have on those is something I'd really recommend.
And what's the first step that you take with young people that you advise personally?
I like to see them start out with a budget to really see what expenses that they know that they're going to have. You're going to have that rent, you're going to have the food, have to pay the light bill, all those different things. To really establish what expenses that you will have, and then take a look at what you have left over for extra dollars. And of course, getting out of college, you want to have some fun too, so it's using some of that money for some discretionary. But I really encourage them to pay themselves first, because you need to be having that as a bill as well, but really to figure out what you have available that you can use.
I know that most people know that an emergency fund is important. What would you say is a good amount to have in that emergency fund?
Kind of a rule of thumb is to have like 3 to 6 months expenses in a cash reserve, but for just getting out of college, it's maybe a little bit on the high side to have that amount. So to start, at least putting some dollars away, if you can build that up to $1,000 and get it up to $3,000 to $5,000, that you just have set aside for money that, get it out of the checking account so it's not so tempting to use, and just have it available if something should happen where you need to use that money.
Okay, so after you start a plan with someone, how do you make sure that they stay on that track and continue the saving plan?
I do meet with them periodically, so it depends on the situation, how often we want to get together. But it is where we do track their goals and encourage them to be saving. And once they do start saving, a lot of times it's where they get accustomed to that. And when they get a raise, it's where, oh, I should be starting to save a little bit more. And if they don't start saving, it's easier just to start spending more money.
What sort of goals do you help young people to set for themselves?
One is to that emergency fund that we talked about, just building up some cash reserves. But quite often people don't want to be having to spend that money for apartment, so it's just money that you're spending all the time. Most would like to get into a house someday, so it's to start putting some dollars away in some type of an account that you could have access to build a house. And once you get that first job too, there may be some matching in the retirement plan, and retirement is a long ways away. But if we can start putting some dollars away into something, if there's some matching in that program, that the company is putting money into that account for you as well. I don't want to leave that money on the table.
So in the future, after students are have cleared out their debt and are in a good stable amount with their money, should saving plans change after that?
It kind of depends on the goals that they have, what they want to accomplish. But once they have those debts taken care of, well, then it gives them an opportunity to start saving, some extra dollars is what they can do. Or it may be to start working, a little harder on their credit rating too. So, it's the bills that they have, make sure that they're being paid off systematically every month. Don't miss a payment on there. And if it is where, gee, I need to buy a different vehicle, well, maybe you have to borrow a little bit of money for that. But to make sure that you're not spending more than what you can afford, to make sure that you're spending enough, saving enough on there to help that credit rating.
Okay, so lastly, what is some broad advice you have for students who are overwhelmed with debt right now?
Start out with that budget to really see where your money is going, and then figure out which debts that you have, and it may be starting small to get rid of some of those. If you have some that, I don't owe very much on it, to knock some of those off so you can feel successful that you're paying off some debt.
Great. Well, thank you for coming in with us
You bet.
today.
Thank you.
Coming up, an article by Gallup finds that only 13% of Americans feel engaged by their jobs. We'll meet one man who is part of that passionate percentage.
Closed captioning is underwritten in part by Options, your disability information source.
It's not the size of the woman in the fight. It's the size of the fight in the woman.
To have the future you want and a career you'll be proud of, you'll need a great education. The University of North Dakota can get you there with more than 225 degree programs, preparing you for today's fastest growing, high demand careers, like medicine and health professions, aerospace, business, engineering, and energy. Schedule your campus visit today at und.edu/go. Because to succeed, you need to be exceptional.
North Dakota is facing challenges in healthcare delivery. The University of North Dakota School of Medicine and Health Sciences is building a place to help meet the state's healthcare needs. In addition to a new structure, we're also building interaction between healthcare professionals while building a workforce through expanding class sizes. We're inspiring our youth to engage in healthcare careers and exploring ways to reduce disease. It starts here and ends here, building a better future for North Dakota.
others live to their full potential, improve clients' mental and physical well-being, excel in one of the top healthcare careers of the future. Occupational therapy students at the University of North Dakota experience high-quality education in small classes.
Has to come to 45 degrees, even in a normal motion pattern.
Your healthcare career begins at the University of North Dakota.
If you would like to attend a live show, go to our website at studio1.und.edu.
With rapid technological advancements, artificial intelligence may be the next step. The movie Chappie centers on this idea. Set in the near future, our government has now developed the first ever robotic police force to oversee crime. When one police droid, Chappie, is stolen and given new program, he becomes the first robot to be able to think and feel for himself. With this new ability, powerful sources see Chappie as a threat. Chappie must learn quickly how to fight back if he wants to survive. Hugh Jackman plays the role of Vincent, the villain of the story. He's part of the government agency trying to make Chappie the last of his kind.
His own needs and wants and desires actually drive way beyond his philosophy, and his inability to lose actually just trumps everything, and he becomes someone very destructive.
Chappie was filmed in the director's hometown of Johannesburg, which is the largest city in South Africa. This film also features many action scenes, which required multiple stunt doubles to be on set. Chappie opens in theaters March 6th with an R rating. Many countries have a national sport that is written into law. For Canada, these sports are lacrosse in the summer and hockey in the winter. The U.S. has yet to adopt an official sport legally. We wanted your thoughts on what the national sport of the United States should be.
I guess I'd say volleyball just because that's my favorite sport.
Football. I don't know, it's favorite pastime to me.
One of them probably would be the baseball.
NFL. NFL should be the national sport.
I think hockey for sure, just because it's like the sport, well, especially North Dakota, Minnesota, that's like the big sport here.
Or hockey, because, I mean, everyone likes hockey, so.
Well, it would just have to be baseball because of its historic and national presence.
I'd prefer hockey because it's more intense, I guess, and stuff.
Well, I think it'd probably be football for the most part. Maybe some basketball, but football is probably the biggest one for national.
A comment from our Facebook page from Amy in West Fargo, North Dakota says, football would be a good choice for our national sport. It's more popular in the U.S. than any other country, and Super Bowl Sunday is basically treated as a holiday already. John from Lakeville, Minnesota says baseball. It seems like the logical choice. It's played by both sexes, old and young, all over the country.
Do what you love and get paid for it. Easily said, but not easily done. For one lucky Grand Forks man, that isn't the case. His two passions collided under one roof.
Ask someone to describe an office, and they can do it easily. 4 walls, a desk, some windows if you're lucky. By those standards, Marv Lyer's office at the University of North Dakota Television Center is pretty standard.
You know what, to be honest, I don't know. If I didn't do television, I don't really know what I would do.
It's not long after poking your head inside his office that his true passion is revealed.
Hockey's my love. I love hockey. You can't beat it. It's just an adrenaline rush. It's the most awesome thing in the world.
A UND grad himself, it was here where Marv's two loves were forged.
So now working at UND and shooting hockey games at UND, it's like a dream.
And it's a dream he gets to live out twice a week from a cramped 3x5 foot gap between the player benches. And while he loves his job, he admits it's taxing.
I never feel like I'm really working, though I am, and it is physically tough and demanding. At least once a year I have to go and get my back snapped into place by the chiropractor.
Marv dodges pucks, sticks, and even stray limbs while on the job. And once a protective glass pane was removed for player safety reasons, he had to rethink more than just his equipment.
I didn't start wearing them, but when I was wearing more pads to protect myself from the action, then that's when I decided I'd better
So it's
wear
almost
jerseys.
a hide, to hide the pads so you look tougher, huh?
Kind of, in some ways. They do make me look pretty thick around here. I don't know if I like that or not. But students will tell me, yeah, people talk about your jerseys all the time, and it's become this thing, and I never ever expected it was going to become this thing.
It's always interesting to see what he has on any given night. It's always different.
Even though Marv has 30 jerseys of his own, he often has help choosing one for that night's game. Coaches, refs, and even color commentators have been known to bring him unique jerseys. Not bad for a guy just doing what he enjoys most.
It's video and it's hockey. Two of my favorite things. So when I go to those games, I love it.
With Eirik Nilsson-Bratley, I'm Marty Mueller, reporting for Studio One.
Gotta get my headset on.
Fans and students alike have taken interest in Marv over the years. One student went as far as dressing like him for a Halloween game, cardboard, video, camera, and all.
Thanks, Will. Now Morgan joins us in our studio with a final look at the weather. Morgan?
Thanks, Tasha. This week, like we said, we're looking at really pleasant temperatures in mostly the whole United States. Pretty warm temperatures due to that zonal flow. The only little bit chilly you're going to be seeing is down south in Texas there. Moving over to our precipitation map for this week, relatively dry throughout the whole United States. Coupling that with the warm temperatures, it's going to be really, really nice. The only spots you might see a little bit of rain is out on the west coast there or down in Florida. That brings us back to our weather question of the week. Towards which direction is a rainbow normally seen in the afternoon? And the answer is actually east. But if you want to see those warm temperatures, just take a look west.
I'm just happy you're talking about rainbows and warm weather in general. Thanks, Morgan. And that's our show for today. As always, you can follow us through social media or get more information on our website. From all of us at Studio One, have a great week.
See you next time.